Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Professor Phillip Mak, and today is Thursday, September 10, 2020, and I'm very happy to be invited by uh, NYU Tandon today to give a talk about topics of my expertise. So today, I'll be talking about cybersecurity news, and specifically, I'm going to talk about the really big Twitter hack that occurred about a month ago. If you're in the Twitterverse, you probably have heard of this big breach in Twitter's. But before I go do that, I want to again thank Randy and Deanne for inviting me to talk today. Tandon Teaches is a program here at Tandon where they have a number of talks open to the NYU community. So today we'll talk about cybersecurity. But here's a listing of the other events for this month, and they have about 10 to 12 events already scheduled. So they'll have events all throughout the semester, and it's been pretty popular so far. So if you're interested in these things, please go ahead and sign up. Just hit the Zoom link at any time. But I'm very happy to be invited over again at following the first talk. So today, we'll be talking about the Twitter hack. This is a hack that occurred last month around July 15th that made pretty big news, as in it's really big news, as in it was in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and so on. But first, about me. My name is Phillip Mak, and I'm an adjunct professor here at NYU Tandon School of Engineering. I teach cybersecurity here. Specifically this semester, I'm teaching network security. On my day job, I am the cybersecurity principal and the security operations center lead at a large government agency. So specifically, I manage a 24/7 security operations center that handles any security related incident response events for the organization. And this would include things such as attempted network breaches, data exfiltration, monitoring of network events, any users have any accounts get hijacked, suspicious emails, malware alerts, law enforcement investigation, and so on. So the Security Operations Center will be the first incident responders for any of these events. Former to this position, I was a cybersecurity lead at the Department of Defense. Specifically, I led a team in the Army that provides cybersecurity engineering services to programs on development. So for example, let's say that the Army is building a smart fuse or smart munitions. Right now, they want a munition to have data from other sources such as meteorological data, wind, rain, humidity, and temperature. They'll need to connect to a network to get that information, and that network connection needs to be secured, as an example. So back to the Twitter hack. One thing that we always want to know is how companies get hacked, right? Twitter is a huge company, lots of resources there. They have a security team in the thousands of personnel. So how does a company with unlimited resources gets compromised? And one way is that this type of information is really helpful for us to learn so we can adjust our own practices in the areas where we work on. And a really good data source is the Verizon DBIR database of incident response. That's not what it stands for, but it gives us information about data breaches that occurred within the industry. So here's an example of what the report looks like. It categorizes a number of breaches, and it determines what was involved. So as we probably all know, the Twitter attack included a social attack. So we see from the Verizon report that 22% of breaches included some sort of social component here. 22% included some sort of social component, meaning this is not just a typical find a vulnerability, compromise a vulnerability, or find credentials. Some sort of social engineering or manipulating people is involved in it. And of course, that is an area where a lot of companies try to focus on, try to reduce the human factor in vulnerabilities. And of course, that is a big factor. But to note, we all have our opinions about it, but at the end of the day, people are people. And there's only so much you can do about people. So how does it occur? This probably started on July 15th. And when it really made the news was when Twitter support, Twitter's Twitter handle, gave a statement. And they did this on July 15th at 5:45 p.m. And it says, "We are aware of a security incident impacting accounts on Twitter. We are investigating and taking steps to fix it. We will update everyone shortly." And of course, the incident has been occurring the entire day already. So when Twitter finally informed everyone about this attack, it was already old news. As by this time, it was already making the rounds throughout the internet about what happened here and what's going on. But before this, what really happened was some high-level accounts starting tweeting a Bitcoin scam. So here's a tweet from Jeff Bezos, and this occurred approximately 3 p.m. on July 15th. And Jeff Bezos says on the bottom here, "I have decided to give back to my community. All Bitcoins sent to my address below will be sent back doubled. I'm only doing a maximum of $10 million. And here's the Bitcoin ID." So obviously, you would see that most of us and most of everybody will actually think this is a scam, right? Right, obviously, but actually not very obviously. So this occurred around 3 p.m. and this was not the only one that occurred. There's about 40 accounts that got compromised approximately. And here's a tweet from Joe Biden and Barack Obama, and it says basically the same thing, right? "I am giving back to my community due to COVID-19. All Bitcoins sent to the address below will be sent back doubled. So if we send $1,000, I'll be sending out $2,000. And Joe Biden is only doing this for a limited time as well. So make sure you do this right now. Otherwise, you miss out on this opportunity, right?" And both of them says the same thing. So this occurred approximately the same time around 3 p.m. And the reach of these folks is huge, right? I didn't count the total amount of reach, but here Jeff Bezos, he has 1.5 million followers. I'm pretty sure Joe Biden and Barack Obama had, pretty big followings as well, and they all came out with the same Bitcoin ID. Like they all came out with the same Bitcoin ID, so they all went to the same wallet. That happened around 3 p.m. and around 5 p.m. Twitter came out with a statement saying that some security event has occurred. All in all, Twitter, after doing the investigation, they found that these attackers targeted 130 accounts. 45 accounts had tweets sent by the attackers. 36 accounts had their direct messages or their private messages inbox accessed. And 8 of the accounts had your Twitter data downloaded, which is all the data from your account downloaded. In summary, this is the biggest Twitter account, this is the biggest Twitter hack in history that we know of, right? This is the biggest attack ever, like the biggest one ever, right? Somehow, attackers were able to take over so many accounts all at one time, probably using one vulnerability. So I have a quiz question, and you wouldn't know this answer, but think of this as, what do you think occurred? So obviously, this was a scam, right? You look at these Bitcoin, these tweets, you know that obviously Barack Obama is not doubling your Bitcoin money. So how much do you think the attackers received? How much money did they receive from tweeting from 45 accounts, this Bitcoin scam? How much money do you think they got from it? Right. So this is a quiz. Let me know what you think. So A, is it $117, or is it $1,170, $11,700, $117,000, or $1,170,000? And just to note, this is the biggest Twitter hack that we know of in history. So let me give you a few seconds to reply back to this one. Okay, let me know what you think about it. So I'm getting some good answers here already. And the answers are generally around D or E. D or E. So you think that either 117K was received by the attackers or $1,170,000 was received by the attackers. So I got something between D and E. I don't know how many think is what, but let's see. So the answer is actually, it's D, right? They received 117K worth of funds from 415 users. That is, 415 users sent in a total of $117,000 into the Bitcoin wallet. Now, the thing is, this was just a small amount of it. That's the actual amount received by the Bitcoin wallet. As soon as this attack occurred, within a few minutes, the major Bitcoin exchanges start blocking the transactions. So for example, Coinbase is one of the biggest Bitcoin exchanges there are. That is a place where you store your wallet so you don't have to actually be concerned that you lost it. So Coinbase realized that this was a fraudulent tweet and start blocking them a few minutes after this was tweeted, and they were able to block about $280,000 worth of transactions from 1,000 customers, and they only did this for their own. They were only able to do this from their own customers. So Coinbase stopped about 1,000 individuals from sending $280,000 to it. And the other Bitcoin exchanges also eventually stopped it. So at the end of the day, the attackers only got $117,000 worth of Bitcoin into their account. Now, if you think that's very little money, that is very little money, right? Because still, we haven't discussed how they got in, but they seem to be able to access any account that they wanted. So just imagine, let's say, the people who found this vulnerability, if they went to like any hacking group, any nation state, or in the black market, they can easily fetch 1 million or more for this vulnerability to be able to do that. Obviously, that this is things that occurs in the black market. So certainly 117K is a very low amount of funds from this, really, really big breach. So altogether, if we include the ones that were blocked, it's about maybe 400K. Now, I think that number could be much higher. So if transactions to that wallet wasn't stopped, the amount could probably have gotten much higher. So although, it seems to probably all of you out there, this is such a scam. Why would Barack Obama or whoever or Elon Musk would do this? But their reach is so big. They have millions of followers each. And I don't have a unique count, but they probably, would not be surprised if they totaled like 10 million unique handles that follow them. And that's a lot of people. And even a small amount of those reply back and try to send some funds over there to the Bitcoin wallet. That's still a lot of users, right? So we see at least 1,500 users attempted to send money to the Bitcoin wallet. But overall, it's a very small financial gain in general. Next question. How do you think Twitter was initially breached by attackers? So this is a guess question, right? What do you guess, right? So here are the choices. A, phone spear phishing attack. That is, someone called someone up and says, hey, I'm from IT. I need to reset your password or tell me your password, right? That's number one. Two, Twitter had a vulnerability that was not patched and therefore they just got in from there. Three, Twitter had a 0-day vulnerability. That is a vulnerability that is unable to be patched. It's just a vulnerability that has no patch and have very limited mitigations for a 0-day. Or D, it's an inside job. That is, this is a Twitter employee from inside Twitter and it starts selling accounts for additional cash or money. Tell me what you think. Let me give you a few seconds to reply to that. So just scrolling through some of your thoughts, I see that probably number one is a phone sphere phishing attack. Number two is unpatched vulnerability. Number three is an insider job. And we have at least one answer saying that it's a 0-day vulnerability. So if you guessed that it was a phone sphere phishing attack, then you're correct with that. So here's what Twitter said on, I don't have the date for this, but this is probably a week or two later. The attack that occurred on July 15th targeted a small number of employees through a phone spear phishing attack. This attack relied on a significant and concerted attempt to mislead certain employees and exploit human vulnerabilities to gain access to internal systems. So it turns out that the attacker attempted to start attacking Twitter starting in May, and between May and July was able to get into their internal systems. And one of the ways that the attacker got into the system is by doing a phone spear phishing account. So spear phishing account, and I think that's supposed to be SPHEAR attack. So a spear phishing attack is a targeted phishing attack, meaning not only that the person called up and says, hey, this is IT, it says, hey, I'm looking for Phillip Mak. Hi, Phillip, we need your password, or something like that. That is what a spear phishing attack, that they were able to get some information about the user. Somehow that we don't know yet, the attacker got personal information about a particular user and was able to call up the user using the user's personal information. This could be their name, whatever, birthday, home address, maybe they had the employee ID or whatever. We don't really know exactly what happened, but somehow the attacker was able to have enough information that the employee thought it was the real IT department or the real, Twitter internal department that had personal information, enough to convince him or her that it was, really from Twitter calling them about something. And that was able to do that. And we don't know exactly what happened here. We don't know yet exactly what happened here. So on July 15th, there's also been some court filings. A effort between the FBI, IRS, and the United States Secret Service was able to determine what happened. So here's some information about what happened. As far as we know, the attacker, the original attacker, we're going to call him Kurt number 5270. And that is a Discord handle. Discord is a chat program that's widely used by lots of folks. And one of the great things about Discord is that it's kind of anonymous, right? So for example, if you use WeChat or WhatsApp, you know that there's not as much anonymity in those apps because they require a phone number or something like that. Discord only requires email address to sign up. So therefore, it's tend to be used a lot. It's also free, by the way, and there's less tracking on it. So on July 15th, a Discord user named Kurt5270 offers on one of the Discord channels, and he says, I work for Twitter. And he says that he can get any handle that you want, any Twitter handle they want. So in order to do this, Kurt5270 started recruiting people to help him make deals. So Kurt5270 reached out to a number of folks, and these two folks were agreed to help him. These two folks are called Ever So Anxious 5270 and Rolex 0373. So Kurt was able to get Ever So Anxious and Rolex to help him with trying to get deals with attacking Twitter and changing the handles and giving these handles away to folks. So these two folks, Ever So Anxious and Rolex, they started posting on this web forum called OG Users. And they posted a number of posts on OG Users. And it essentially says, I have the ability to get any Twitter handle you want. If you want a Twitter handle, you have to pay something to help. Now, in order to convince them, Kurt was able to take some screenshots of some internal Twitter tools. So he showed these internal Twitter tools to Ever So Anxious and Rolex to convince them that he is able to actually do this. And he also gave them a Bitcoin ID to send the money to. So this is important that he shared a Bitcoin wallet with them. And this information was later revealed publicly. Ever So Anxious, that's one of the people that was recruited, went and started posting in the OG users forums under the name Chaewon. So the OG users forum, it's a web forum, you can Google it. And the OG users forum is a web forum used for trading of OG usernames. And OG actually stands for Original Gangster. Now, personally, I don't fully understand what that means, but Original Gangster really means short names. So these are short names such as, a single letter or double letter Twitter handles. So some of them that got hacked eventually were handles such as 6, like @6 or @B, or really short names. For some reason that I personally don't understand, these short Twitter handles are really, really, well liked, and they tend to be targeted for attacks a lot. And the area where people try to discuss buying and selling these and attacking these short handles is in the OG users forum. So OG users forum, and you can Google that and get to that. So Ever So Anxious went to the OG users forum and then posted under the name Chaewon. And he posted an advertisement that says, anyone who wants any access to any Twitter account, you can get it for $250. And then you can have account access, like total account access, for $2,000 to $3,000 each. So basically, he said that for simply $250, we're going to change the email address associated with the Twitter account. You don't even have to hack the email to get into the Twitter account. They're just going to change the email address. So now you can go do a reset password and such on it. And then Chaewon here directed people to, if you want to trade, go to Ever So Anxious on Discord. So this user, Chaewon, has connected himself to Ever So Anxious, right? And that's a big point to note, right? He connected himself to Ever So Anxious by using this posting. And at the end of the day, he ended up discussing over 50 accounts with Kirk, who was the actual person who has the access to the Twitter internal tools. Then we have the other accomplice. His name is Rolex0373. That's his Discord name. And Rolex0373, he was initially skeptical about being able to do this, because it's kind of wild that you can just change any email address. So Kirk, in order to convince Rolex that this is possible, he changed the Twitter handle, the email address associated with @foreign, to an email address of Rolex's. So the Twitter handle foreign was changed to one of Rolex's email addresses. And that's another point to remember. And so he received @foreign Twitter handle as compensation for his work. So Rolex also went to the OG users forum and posted an advertisement under the name Rolex. So note, this really big deal here, just to note that Rolex received the @foreign email address, @foreign Twitter handle associated with one of his email addresses, right? And that's going to come back later. So here's another quiz question. Again, you don't know the answer, but tell me what you think about it. How did the authorities track down the attackers? Right? And here are the choices: A, B, C, D, E, F. Right? Here are the choices. Right? So choices are: the OG users forum data was leaked. That is, it was leaked out. They got all the information. Authorities were able to read all the information and figure out who everyone else. Or B, they registered their own email addresses with the Bitcoin exchanges, and they were found from the Bitcoin IDs. 3, they changed some of the Twitter handles to their own email addresses. So known Twitter handles were actually attacked, and they changed it to their own email addresses, and therefore authorities were able to track them with that. D, they registered their personal driver's license with the Bitcoin exchange, including the Bitcoin wallet. So therefore, the authorities were just simply go to the exchanges and find what name the Bitcoin exchange was under. 3, they reused Bitcoin addresses that they used in other means, and therefore they were able to track down information from other events that occurred in the past. F, they logged into everything using the same IP address. So they got logged into Discord, OG users forum, Coinbase, whatever, Twitter. They used the same IP address, and authorities simply just matched the IP addresses and found everybody. So let me give you a few seconds to think about what is it that you think led the authorities to track down the attackers. So let's see. I got some answers from C, F, E, F, F, A. So we got from all over the place. Um, hmm. Oh, oh, this is a trick question. It's a trick question. Okay, this is a trick question. Right, it's a trick question. All right, so actually, this is the wrong slide. Excuse me. This is the wrong slide. Let me give you the correct slide. Here's all the choices here: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. All of the above. Right? A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. All of the above. So, well, actually, the answer is G. It was all of the above, like all of the above. And just to point out that if any one of these things occurred, with warrant searches, the authorities would have been able to find the attackers from any one of these things, probably. But it's actually all of these things have actually occurred in the Twitter attack. So a history about Bitcoin exchanges. Bitcoin exchanges is a place where you store your wallet and help you with your transactions. So of course, in the old days, you can hold your Bitcoin wallet on your own computer and such, and that'll be the only copy of it. And you hear some cases about this. I think Kanye West said something like this. You made a Bitcoin wallet on your own computer, then you lost your computer, and now your Bitcoin becomes millions of dollars, and you just have to find your computer, right? I think there was a Big Bang Theory episode about this too. But so people don't store their wallets in their own computers anymore. They store it at a Bitcoin exchange, which it's another way of saying it's kind of like a bank. So you don't have to store it on your own computer. You store it someplace that can keep it safe for you. So that's kind of like how everyone uses it these days. But the thing is, at least in the United States, these Bitcoin exchanges, they're not fully anonymous. Like they keep records of it. Like, so first of all, in order to exchange the Bitcoin into money, you need to have some sort of identity involved in it. So you can't just take your Bitcoin to an ATM machine and take out money without some sort of ID verification of some sort about it. And also, you need to register for the Bitcoin exchange. And it turns out that when you register for a Bitcoin exchange, some personal information is involved. For example, your IP address. You need to have a user ID and email address. If you want to exchange any funds, you probably need some sort of ID to do that. And remember, Bitcoins are not anonymous. So if you decide to take the Bitcoins and move it to a different account, they can be traced. So essentially, by having a high profile attack, these Bitcoins, the attackers can never get the money out of the Bitcoin in a safe way, because wherever they send it to, it can be tracked. And you probably can't even, you can probably never exchange it into hard currency without it being found or traced back exactly to where it is. And that's how Bitcoin works. Also, the OG users form data was hacked in April 2020. So the OG users, where they trade these accounts, it's not the only one of these forums, right? They have rival groups, and a rival group hacked OG users and actually released all of their data publicly. So a rival group to OG users in April 2020 hacked it and released all of this information publicly, which included usernames, postings, public postings, private messages they sent in the forums, IP addresses, and email addresses. So this information was leaked out in April, and of course, the authorities have obtained a copy of this information and performed searches on this data on a routine basis. So at the end, how the authorities find the attackers? So for the mastermind, Kirk 5270, it was never revealed. So authorities did not reveal how they figured out who Kirk was. Maybe he didn't make any of these mistakes. But Kirk's accomplices, ever so anxious and Rolex, made a number of errors that allowed the authorities to find them very easily. So for example, ever so anxious used a Bitcoin address and an IP address that connected himself with his OG users forum posting. And also by using the email address, they were able to find his other OG user's handle, Mace. And all of this data was from the leaked OG users data that was leaked in April. Also, Ever So Anxious bought a video game using Bitcoin, and he used the same Bitcoin ID as he used with Kirk at the same time. So we used the Bitcoin ID, and therefore they were able to trace him to a previous event that occurred. Additionally, Ever So Anxious used a Gmail address, masonhappy@gmail.com, to link to his Coinbase account. And lastly, he also registered his Florida driver's license with the Coinbase account. So certainly that's enough information to connect them together. So what happened here is that the authorities were able to review the data from OG users, leaked data, and from there they had enough information to get warrant requests for other areas. And probably what happened here is that from this database, they were able to get warrant requests for Discord chat logs. They were able to get warrants for Coinbase to get their email addresses, IP addresses, and so on. They had sent out warrants for gmail.com and got his Gmail email from the warrant, and probably sent out warrants to Coinbase to get their information as well. Right, and they probably had good enough evidence to do so legally for good warrants. Now the other accomplice, Rolex, same thing, right? It came from the OG users' leaked data. He used the email damn I am evil at gmail.com to register a Coinbase account. Also the same email address used for his OG users account. He also used his driver's license. I don't know if it's Florida's driver's license, but he used a driver's license to register with Coinbase and other exchanges. And remember that he was given the @foreign Twitter handle as a present for working with Kirk. Well, that @foreign Twitter handle was changed to another Gmail address that was owned by him. So obviously the authorities from there was able to access the Gmail records from a warrant and able to obtain things like IP addresses and all the messages that he sent for such. And they were able to track that this user used the same IP address to access Discord, OG users, and Coinbase. So basically, in summary, these two accomplices did not take any steps whatsoever to hide their identity. They didn't use any anonymous proxies like Tor or some sort of VPN. They didn't make an account, any effort to use like different email addresses. They're connected to their real names. They had the Coinbase address connected to their own like ID, so their own actual driver's license and ID. So based on all these things, they made absolutely no effort to conceal themselves in any way whatsoever. And any one of these things would probably have been found, but they did so many things that were not perfect. One more question. This is not a trick question. If Twitter had multi-factor authentication enabled, would that have stopped the account from being compromised? Right? Would multi-factor authentication help in this case? Right, so I got something between A and B, yes and no. right? And we don't have the real answer, right? I don't have the answer here, but the answer is probably no, right? And the reason it's no is because what was suspected to occur is that attacker, by using social engineering or some way, was able to get to the Twitter's internal Slack group. And from there, he was able to get information about how systems work, information about their employees, and so on. And by doing that, was able to get into the systems. So in this case, multi-factor authentication would probably have not helped, right? So example, let's say the attacker called up a user and says, hey, Twitter employee, I need you to do this for me, and such. Oh, you got the alert on your phone? Just hit yes on that, because they were already on the phone with them. So multi-factor authentication would probably not have helped in this case. And we don't know the full details right now, and it's going to be coming out over the next couple of months as these folks go to court. But I think that they use some sort of sophisticated phishing phone spear phishing exercise in such a way that if multi-factor authentication was enabled, they will be able to bypass it using social engineering. And that's what I think. We don't have the full information right now. So in summary, this is what happened. On around, starting in May 2020, Kirk started trying to access Twitter's account. It took him 2 months, but finally on July 15th, he was able to get access to Twitter's email change tool. And from there, once he got access to it, he wanted to make money as fast as possible. He solicited 2 users to help him in the deals. And by 3 p.m., it was already known that something was occurred. Twitter starts stopping all tweeting from verified accounts along with other restrictions, and was able to fix it by the end of the day. And just merely 2 weeks later, 3 teenagers were arrested so far. Right? And that's a timeline of the events. So of course, we always want to know, how can my organization prevent this from happening, right? What can I do for my organization? Now that I know this, what can I do for my organization to stop this? And this one is a really hard one, right? This is hard. It's hard because it involves social engineering. So probably the first thing, as always, is improve your social engineering training for employees. Do a test, do some phishing emails to train the users on what to do and how to do it, and make sure they don't get social engineered. That's hard because there's human nature involved here. It's really hard when someone walks up to your office and says, I need some help, could you help me with this, and so on. That's really hard. And I think that even with social engineering training, you can only bring employees so far. Certainly you can improve it, but at the end of the day, people are people, and there will be some numbers that can be social engineered. And I believe that's just a fact, and that's how it is. So you need other controls involved as well. Now, I'm not saying social engineering training is not important, but I think it only goes so far. So in other words, other things, you need to have better technical controls in order to prevent these things from happening. So for example, one thing that can be done is increase verification for password resets. So the idea here is that somehow using social engineering, the attacker was able to gain access to someone's account. And from that account, it was able to pivot to other tools, right? We don't know what happened, but certainly there should probably be increased verification for password resets. If someone calls them up with enough information, there should be some sort of additional verification, like supervisor approval, something else that is involved in this loop. And also hardening of internal management tools. It's well known in Twitter that they just use Slack for their communications. So if someone's able to get into those Slack conversations, they can get so much information about how the organization works. As passwords might be shared in their links, SOPs, knowledge articles, people's, information and so on. So much information is shared in there that, someone getting access to Slack will probably be able to gain so much information to probably be able to figure this out. But more generic advice about how to improve the enterprise security. In summary, there are 4 main things that you should always be looking at, right? The 4 main things. And the 4 main things are properly designing a good cybersecurity into your systems. Second thing is compliance verification by an outside and independent assessor. Third thing, continuous operational testing. And the fourth thing is continuous monitoring. These are just very basic things that every organization needs to be able to do. And so what I mean by that is number one, for example, properly designing cyber into your systems. If you're building a new system, design cybersecurity controls right into a system while it is under development, right? Don't tack it on at the end. It needs multi-factor authentication, make sure that's included in it. You need to enable security controls on it, make sure that's done while it is in development. Because as you know, once a system's in operation, adding additional security controls, it's hard. Second thing, verification by an outside independent assessor. So this is compliance verification from outside assessor. Assessors come in, make sure that you're complying with your security controls properly. Example would be everyone should have multi-factor authentication enabled. An independent assessor comes in and verifies the information. And then you find out, oh wait, yeah, everyone has MFA enabled except this whole other group. We didn't get to them yet. And these things are things that you eventually find out when you have an independent assessor come in. Cybersecurity operational testing, that's another way of saying pen test. Have an outside organization come in and do a pen test, right? And the pen test typically would also include social engineering attacks as well, right? That's pen testing. And fourth, continuous monitoring. Probably wouldn't have helped in this case, but continuing monitoring means ensuring that you have a team of people continuously monitoring that your controls are actually still effective, right? That the things that you're doing are still effective, ensuring that you didn't deviate from the proper process. So these are just very basic things that every enterprise system needs to be able to do. In summary, here's what I want to take you to take away from this discussion. First thing is that this attack on Twitter could have been really, really bad. It could have been, but it wasn't, right? As far as we know, it wasn't really bad. And this was really good, right? This is really good for Twitter. It started with a phone sphear, SPH, sphear phishing attack, SPH. So attack started with a phone sphear phishing attack. That is just another social engineering attack. All organizations, you have to be wary of social engineering attacks. You have to make sure you provide training, and you also have to make sure that you have technical controls to make sure that people aren't phished, right? That's the only way to stop it, because people are people at the end of the day. Third thing, the attackers did not hide their trails well at all in any way, right? These were basically just amateurs trying to perform this hack. The thing is, if this attack was done by a nation state, things would be a little bit different. So a nation state is a term we use for a well-funded hacking group that does not have a limit in funds. They're completely unlimited in funds. They can do whatever they want, unlimited in funds. So if things such as setting up different Gmail accounts, setting up different Bitcoin addresses that are not traced to each other using VPNs or some other proxies, they could have done. And if they hit their trail as well, we may not have been able to find what occurred here. And the really great thing here is that because this attack was so poorly done, Twitter now has a really great opportunity to improve their internal processes. And this is a really big takeaway, and I want to delve into this a little further. One of the ways that your organization cannot improve its security could be due to culture. Like it could be like, well, this is the way we've always been doing change management. Therefore, I don't see a reason to change. Or this is the way we're doing risk management. It's been fine for so many years. We don't need to change it, right? And you always get this type of pushback when you get these, when you try to change a process and such. Well, Twitter is currently in crisis mode right now, right? They had the biggest attack, and the leaders in Twitter can use this reason to change processes. So for example, that risk management process that has been performing very poorly, well, now because of this crisis, you have reason to change. Look, our risk management process is not good enough. It needs to be improved, and you can use this hack to be able to force that change. Some other CISOs and CIOs also go a step further and create these crises intentionally. Like, so for example, if you need a crisis to make change, you can, for example, let's say you know that you're serving your users poorly, but no one would do anything to fix anything. Well, if you hire an independent company to do a user survey, knowing that the users are unsatisfied with your processes or with your product, that will force change in your company. So this is a big driving force. Right? Crisis is a big driving force for change. So if Twitter had some problems before with their internal tools or their security, now they have the reason to change it. All eyes are on Twitter right now. So anyways, this is just preliminary information. We will find more about this Twitter hack in the coming months as authorities start bringing these three teenagers to court. And also, I would bet that there are more than 3 people involved, right? There's people who bought and sold these accounts and so on. And using those email addresses and so on, they will probably will be fine. They probably did not hide their tracks well enough not to be found. So that's all I have today. Thank you for listening to the discussion. I'm here for a few minutes if you have any questions during this time.